Well, hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Olshi, I'm a manga artist, and today I'm surrounded by my collection of all of the self-published comics that I own, and I want to give you a little tour, just introduce you to all the different artists and the stories that I have collected over the years. This will probably be a slightly longer video. I will try to keep things short while still giving you hopefully enough information about all of the different books. So yeah, you can do something on the side. Just a couple of disclaimers beforehand. I will, just to reduce the collection at least a little bit, I do not talk about things like light novels, self-published light novels, no self-published art books. So I will exclude these. And many of these works, actually most of them, are in German. On the screen I will show what kind of languages each work is available in, and in the description box you can find all of the links and information if you are interested in certain works. So yeah, you will find it all down there. So okay, let's get started. So I think a good point to start is with all of the single volume comics. Basically the story is finished in one volume, so you don't have to commit to long-running series where you don't know whether it will be finished. And I did sort it a little bit also by the authors. First author, I'm just gonna grab whatever book is on top, is Nariko. She has been publishing for a while now, and I have 3 single volumes by her. First one is Daruma. So this short story is about a boy who discovers a Daruma spirit. Daruma is this typical Japanese doll where you set a goal into your mind, then you paint one eye onto the doll, and once you have fulfilled the goal, you paint in the second eye. So when he draws the eye on the Daruma doll, suddenly it turns into a spirit, and it tells him it's going to protect him against evil spirits, demons, until he has fulfilled his goal. That's the basic premise. I'm not gonna lie, it's quite a big premise for a really short story, so not much happens. I think this is more like of a test run for maybe a longer story. And kind of same goes for her other 2 stories. One is Run and the other one is Pen and Ink. In Pen and Ink you have just like basically personifications of a nib pen and an ink, and Run is like quite a typical crime story where a detective is hunting a criminal, I guess. Okay, another disclaimer I probably should have mentioned is that I have a terrible memory for stories. Often I can just read a story or like watch a series again and it's almost a whole new experience for me, because I just forget the plot even after a short while. All I remember are usually the vibes or the emotions I felt while reading or watching something. So if any of the authors that I mention here watch this video and think like, how could she forget my story? Please don't take it personal. It's just, that's how my brain works. In the Only One Bed comic anthology, you can read 3 short stories by 3 authors with their OCs, where they are put into basically this tropey situations. They travel, they get into a hotel or some kind of bed and breakfast, and there's only one bed available. This is more of a self-indulgent project from friends of mine. I will be talking about 2 of their works later on. One is still not published, I think, but it's in the works. So this is like a little extra for other works, basically. A slightly darker story is Finsterwald by Mähnds, Rosa Mähnds. Right now she's publishing a longer story that I will be talking about later. Finsterwald is a bit of a darker story about a psychiatrist who is tasked with treating a patient who has a split personality disorder and who is a murderer. It is a bit of a trope, multiple personality disorder. I think it's called something else right now. What I really like about this story is just the paneling. It is also published as a webtoon, as far as I know, and the way that the story is told is quite beautiful. It's in full color, and the whole setting is just like really pretty. It's quite atmospheric. I usually don't read 18+ stories, but I still own quite a lot of them because lots of my friends are publishing 18+ stories, so basically not safe for work stories. So I will be mentioning quite a lot of them. I usually don't read them, but I'm open-minded to them. So it's up to you whether you are interested or not. So first one of those stories is Blühende Begierde. It's basically about a lesbian couple, a nymph and a witch who are role-playing. It's very wholesome. The drawings are very cute and warm, and just a really nice one-shot. The next author I'm gonna mention is someone who is also my friend, and she already published quite a few single volume comics, so I'm gonna introduce those. Her very first comic was Vampire Blues. It's a mystery story with, well, vampires. Stefan, the protagonist, has to prove, like within the night, he has to prove that vampires exist, so he goes on a hunt. First of all, he has to kind of somehow find a vampire, but then also like figure out what to do when he does find one. This is her oldest work, and since then she has published a lot more. Her next short story was Banana Lover. This is kind of a parody of yaoi. Instead of they talk about bananas instead of something else, and, you know, like a guy who is like kind of obsessed with bananas. Okay, the next few short stories are taking place in the same universe. In this universe there is a club called Purgatory Heaven, and that's a place where demons and angels can meet. Usually they are living in completely separate worlds, but here they can meet, they can mingle, and they can have fun. The Heavenly Sin comic was the first one in the series. Basically it's most vanilla out of all of them, I guess. Just quite a typical 18+ story. And with the next short stories, you just explore some other themes. In Heavenly Sin Sweet Misery, it's all about BDSM. Then I realized apparently I don't own one of her short stories. I probably do, but I'm not sure where it is. It's Bottom, something with bottom, and it's about bottoms. In case you couldn't guess. And the longest story out of the from this universe is Night Bloom. It's probably like the 18+ content is the least out of all of the other stories. The other stories heavily focus on it. This one has more of a story about these two girls who meet, really get along, but then due to circumstances they might not ever meet again, and the story basically dwells into what will they do in order to still meet again. The universe Yitch created is like very inclusive, very diverse. If you want to discover this kind of 18+ stories, I highly recommend checking them out. They're also available in English. The next short story is by Hannah Wenzel. It's called Novembernebel, and even though the title is in German, the whole book is in English. It's about Marin, who meets Oscar for her birthday by the lake. She remembers the times she spent there and gets lost in her memories. It's a very short, atmospheric story with just beautiful art. Nothing much happens. It's just kind of about trying to remember, and I kind of relate to the protagonist, just trying to remember certain childhood memories which just become blurry and you only remember certain elements or maybe a feeling that you had, and it's all very foggy. Like Novembernebel is like November fog. Quite short and sweet and just beautifully drawn. My Sun and My Moon is a beautifully illustrated short story by Rechenbär. It's in a world where the sun realm and the moon realm can only meet during an eclipse, where the moon eclipses the sun. Basically, the personification of the sun while trying to hide from other guests, her friends who are gossiping about her. She meets the heiress to the moon throne, and they come to talk and see just how different their realms are, how different they are, but through this short conversation they learn some things from each other. It's just really pretty, and it's kind of all about how introverts and extroverts can learn from each other. Next story is written by Andrea Bottlinger, and the artwork is by Lea Heidenreich. It's called Dreamcatcher, and it's also in English. It's about a girl who catches dreams. It's not quite explained why, but while on her mission to catch a dream, she gets chased by a detective from the National Dream Security Agency, and it's just a silly little story about this chase, how she escapes from this detective. You can basically finish the story with reading the story within 5 minutes, so just a little quick fun reading. Motivation is a short story collection by Nado. She drew all these different kind of short stories for the Silent Manga Award, which is a competition where artists from all over the world have to draw a manga on a certain topic without using any words. So this can be basically read by anyone. And yeah, because those are 3 stories, first of all, you get 3 different topics, and also you see the development of Nado as an artist, which I think is quite interesting to see as well. Chance is a short story by Bonnie Rumsfeld. It's about people who meet at a town festival, and it's all about like chances. Do you grab them? What do you do in the situation where a chance is right there? I'm actually surprised that this is the only manga I own by Bonnie Rumsfeld, because she published quite a few stories, and I think she definitely has more, I think, like other short stories, but also like a running series. I think I read one of her stories online at some point, but yeah, for some reason I only own one single comic by her. Zurück by Ilka Pflanze, or also Fiotin, I think is her artist name. It's a short story about the girl who basically goes back to her childhood home, and then she talks to her cat. And yeah, the cat talks in this one, and it's about memories from childhood when she used to suffer from depression basically, and it's kind of about how time passes, how it heals wounds, and it's also about friendship between an animal and a girl, which is really sweet. It's very beautiful, and I think Fiotin also has like other short stories and a running series. Zoka, I think, is like probably her most popular series. It's a BL. I'm usually not that much into BL, so that's probably why I haven't got into it, but I will definitely probably start reading it eventually. Wunderkerzen is a short story by Sophie Schönhammer and Anna Baghausen. They used to create stories together, and this is like a short story that they published before they get traditionally published with Sternensammler, which I also have somewhere. And already back then I just loved their paneling. This is about a couple who's kind of going through difficult times, and they're trying to figure out like how to talk to each other. And the paneling is just beautiful, the art style is beautiful, and Anna Baghausen has been actively drawing ever since. Her newest work is Terrible Memory. This one, which I still haven't read, but because I know exactly the comic shop where I want to get it, and I just couldn't get around to go to the comic shop, but that's where I want to buy it. Geister, or Ghosts in English, by Tom Silberschmidt and Stefan Lohrse, is, I guess, basically actually a prequel to maybe a longer story. My first impression is that the story was probably inspired by the pandemic. In this world, basically only delivery guys or girls are allowed to roam outside delivering packages, while everyone has to stay inside due to a virus. And yeah, suddenly ghosts are everywhere. Does it have anything to do with the virus? We don't know. Yeah, basically it's at the end of the story it says this is where my story only starts. So I'm not sure. Either way, there is a cat, ghost, hunter, some kind of medium maybe in there, and you've got me at cat. T. Cambridge Love Lectures is another 18 plus short story. It's by Laura Dörschel and it's about Sophie, who just starts studying at Cambridge. There she meets a docent, a teacher, I don't know, and they kind of, you know, they hit it off, they have fun, and yeah, that's basically it. Just female-friendly spice, I guess. A Waldgeflüster by Lisa Rau is a short story about the girl and her totem animal, a fox. They live in the forest and then suddenly they get attacked by demons. They have to find out what's going on there, and yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. It's pretty short and it's about, you know, family and friendship with the fox. So it's nice. By the way, I do have a different comic by Lisa Rau, Indigo, which is a series. I still haven't read it. It's on my TBR shelf, as everything on here is except for the art books. Shooting Star is a sapphic short story by Physalis Fox. It's about these two girls. They used to be really close friends when they were children. And then Maike, the blonde girl, her family moves to the US and comes back years later again. She kind of has to readapt to her life in Germany. She doesn't really want to be there. She wants to go back to the US, but then she finds out that she ends up being in the same class as Jule, her former best friend. She sees Jule kiss another girl. Maike says something homophobic. Just in general, seems to be a little bit homophobic, while at the same time she starts discovering her own lesbian feelings for her friend. And it's basically how they deal with, you know, with feeling betrayed by the person who used to be your best friend, and how do you become friends again? What if more feelings are involved, and so on. Well, this story by Skema has quite a nerdy title. Amalgam Alad plus times Quicksilver Metal Alloy. It is an 18 plus story. It is a little more on the quite explicit side, with not just human body parts. Again, because I know the artists, I want to support them. This wouldn't be necessarily a kind of story that I would buy, but I know how much effort they put into their artwork, and I just generally like their artwork. So I did get the story, but just be aware, this is more on a out there story if you are more into the kind of fantastical 18 plus stories. Okay, the last 18 plus short story I want to introduce you to is by Junchild Art, and it's about flowers, fields and demons. This story takes place in a red light district during the Edo period in Japan. You have yokai living beside humans, and this one brothels employees kind of have to take care of these yokai, and then different scenarios develop. This is a short story, but I know that Junchild Art is already working on a continuation. Probably, yeah, not just probably, like definitely a longer story. It is in full color as well. And yeah, it is historically inspired and it's smut. So if this is something for you, check it out. Duet is a spin-off from the Trash Cannon BL, which is also a webtoon by Katrin Felder. I'm not sure whether it's also available in English. Either way, Trash Cannon is about like a boy band and I don't know, just their daily life, and you know, them developing feelings for each other. And Duet is about two specific characters from this group, Alec and Levi, who have to practice dance steps together. And the last short story I want to show, to introduce you to, which you probably won't be able to read anywhere. I don't know. It's in Japanese, and I bought it either 2017 or 2019. I was at the Jinshi store in Ikebukuro, and since I'm not reading much BL, I was kind of having difficulties finding any kind of doujinshi that I'm interested in. I don't ship much either. Doujinshi stores are perfect for you if you like to ship, especially if you ship certain male characters. Back then, Levi and Eren from Attack on Titan were a big thing. I remember there, like at that time, there were lots of doujinshi about those two. Either way, I discovered a doujinshi about Finn, Fish, and Axis, I think is his name. I originally thought that it is by Arina Tanemura, but now I see other names on it and I'm actually not really sure, because it does say Arina Tanemura here. So I don't know. I did originally think that this is a smut short story by Arina Tanemura about her own characters. But I'm not sure now that I look closely, because there are some other names. Asano Kyakya, Okosama Lunch. I have no idea. I will have to read some of the stuff here in Japanese and whatever to find out more. It was already difficult enough for me to just read. Well, there isn't much text in it. There's just a lot of sounds. But you also have these kind of pages, which I didn't even attempt to read. It would take me way too long. So yeah, this is like very the most extraordinary short story that I found, and it is self-published, so it does count into my self-publisher collection. Okay, next we will get into the series that I own, and most of them are still running. I will start with the still running series, and then I think I will finish with the ones that are already finished, which you can basically buy and read in full. Let's start with Kage Shinni's work, who is also a friend of mine. She is working on 2 series simultaneously, as far as I know. And the older series is Nick and Slow, which I think 2 volumes are out now. I still haven't read. Yeah, volume 2 is on my TBR, and I have read volume 1 a while ago. This story is about Nick, whose brother gets kidnapped by a ghost. He is a scared eye cat, so the series is just, not only is his brother like kidnapped, he himself is just like terrified of ghosts. He's like a very, yeah, scared little boy. But then he gets pestered by Slow, this little cute ghost, and Nick doesn't really want to have anything to do with Slow until he realizes that maybe this little ghost might be the key to him saving his brother. And this is the premise of the story. Along with the story, Kage Shinni also teaches you kind of some lore about like different kind of ghosts, how evil they are. Like with volume 2, I got like a couple of you know, ghost cards, wisps, like how dangerous are they, what kind of, where do they appear, and so on. It's very, very cute. And the second series that Kage Shinni is drawing at the moment is Colors, which I also read volume 1. I own volume 2, but still haven't read it. And I think, wait, what was it? Volume 5 that is coming out next. So basically there's still quite a bit for me to read, and I'm not sure how many volumes she is planning altogether. And I think I'm just gonna read from the back of the book. When Jazz life hits rock bottom, Greg picked him up and tries to bring some colors back in his life. Literally follow the story about the newfound friendship, emotional support, and self-discovery. It's a YA drama, LGBTQ+ story, and it's quite colorful. Honestly, the colors in these are so beautiful, so atmospheric, and the story is very heartwarming. It's about like Greg is such a good person. I would never bring a stranger into my home, but he does, and they develop a wonderful friendship, maybe even more. Check it out. It's available in English as a webtoon as well. Okay, this story should have gone into the short story section, which was my mistake, but I will be talking about the author's series next anyways. So I actually stumbled upon her work by seeing like I think like female friendly spice sticker, something like that, at her booth at a convention. Back then she had published More Than Friends. Yeah, the author is Killa7 Art. By now we are also friends, and the first story I read by her was More Than Friends. It's actually a Digimon fanfiction, and it is an 18+ story. I didn't even realize that it was a Digimon fanfiction. You can kind of read it almost independently. You probably won't get some character clues, and it's about Genria and Ruki. Sorry, it has been a while since I watched anything Digimon related. For some nostalgia, Digimon nostalgia, maybe you were shipping certain characters, check it out. And what I really want to talk about by Killa7 Art is one of my current favorite self-published series, and I don't know, maybe I'm biased because she's also my friend, but honestly, as someone who, as I said, I don't really read many 18+ stories like smut, because a lot of it's either BL, which is, I don't know, I think like at some point I got a little bit tired of BL, because at a certain point most BL were all the same stories. They were all just like smut. I got bored of it pretty quickly, and since then it has been kind of difficult for me to just figure out what exactly is it that I want to read in BL. And this is the kind of smut that was available for women, and all the other smut is basically for men. It's often quite degrading towards women. It can be quite violent. It's very objectifying. So yeah, just not for me. Until I read Here and Now by Killa R, which is just very female focused. You have 3 characters. Well, let me start again. Tomoko and Luke are best friends. Tomoko is a lesbian. Luke is kind of has difficulties committing to any kind of relationship. And independently of each other, they kind of develop a crush, maybe even fall in love with the same girl, who's Jenny. She is a bisexual queen, and you know, chaos ensues. And what I really like about this story is just like how honest it is. Like, especially Jenny, she's like very honest about her own desires, what she wants. She doesn't she doesn't act like, oh, it's so shameful to just be horny, you know. And it was really refreshing, and I think like we kind of need more of these kind of stories. I think like BL became huge because it's kind of smart for women, but I think this is another way of creating smut for women. And yeah, I really appreciate this story. I really love the characters. The drawings are great, and yeah, it's just a very human, down-to-earth story with very realistic characters, and I love it. Okay, next one is a bit heavy and it's Love Melodies. It's in full color. 3 volumes are out by now. I'm not sure whether the 4th volume is out yet or not. And this story is by Lolina and Kasu Tama, and it's a slice of life story about just different, mostly, no, it's all boys. I think it's all male characters. They go to the same school and they're all a little bit intertwined, and you kind of basically have couples that develops, but it's a very slow burn development of their relationship. Will there be more than friends or not? Also, even becoming friends is a little bit difficult for them due to their just differences in character. So I think like the story really becomes better in the later volumes. Volume 1 I thought was still a little bit very surface level, but the characters do get a lot better in like volume 2 and 3. So I'm really hooked, and I think the characters are just so charming. They're so much fun to read. Yeah, check it out. Remembering Gale by Pushcart has been actually running for a while now, and only now did I finally get volume 1, and I'm not sure how many volumes are out there. I will research it and I will put it on the screen as well. It's also a very slow burn story. From the first volume, it's still a little bit difficult to tell what the story is actually about because of how slow burn it is. What it says on the back is that it's about like these students and their new teacher, and how it's important that they remember certain things in order to avoid making the same mistakes. So I think it's probably about the relationship between the students and the teacher. The student group that is like the main focus of it, they are kind of violent. They're a gang at this international school in Japan. So they keep getting into fights, and I think like the reasons for each student why they're doing this seems to be different. And yeah, it's very beautifully drawn. I really love the dust jacket around here, and yeah, I'm happy that I finally got into it, and I can't wait to read the rest. Let me quickly get a coffee and then we'll continue, because my mouth is running dry. Okay, here we go. Talk, maybe. Monster Rumble Volume 1 by Maya Wendler. I don't think there have been more volumes out, but also I haven't checked in a while. This is one of those stories where I just discovered it at the convention. I got it and I haven't heard anything about it before for whatever reasons, because it's not always easy to follow up on everything that's going on in the self-publishing scene. Well, this is kind of this is a comedy story about 3 flatmates: the witch Taimi, the ghost girl Kiri, and the vampire Yuguri. They run a cafe together. Everything seems to go pretty well, but then an incubus moves in downstairs, and that's when, I don't know, chaos ensues. So it is kind of a slice of life comedy with a supernatural twist to it. Here on the back you have this funny chicken, and I will definitely continue reading the story once more volumes are out. So remember Finsterwald, the short story by Mähnds, which I told you about? Here I have 4 volumes of her longer series, Black and Blue. It is a spin-off series from her universe of, what is it called again? Personal Paradise. Mähnds has been a mangaka in Germany for the longest time. She has published quite a few manga, also in a traditional publisher, and Black and Blue is her becoming independent and starting publishing books on her own. She is also publishing it online. You can read it all in full color online, as far as I know. And I have to say, I really prefer this self-published work to her traditionally published work. Also, it's possible that just from gaining experience, she just developed, you know, better storytelling skills. I mean, obviously the art just improved so much. She's has become really, really good. I also really love how she plays with paneling. I really like the world building of the story. Basically, the world of Personal Paradise is where you have people with mutations, where they develop certain powers. The story does take place in a more of a grimy world. You know, there's like lots of crime going on, and I think people who are mutants in general are kind of pushed towards crime because of how the world is, because of how the society is. And this is a BL story that is about Goro, who is kind of contemplating offing himself, but then he meets this guy, Derek, And Derek is quite a personality. Quite a personality. He's kind of really unapologetic about being completely himself. And he's a chaos agent. And you would think that him and Goro who is like just lost in life, that they couldn't be more different, but they do feel drawn to each other. And Goro gets pulled into the world of mutants and has to kind of navigate his little new life with Derek. So yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, check it out. I will put the links in the description box, as with all of the other stories as well. Okay, Sturm ist erst by Mähnds. Another friend of mine, so again I might be biased. And how do I describe the story? It's like a warm blanket. It is a slow burn story, love story, friendship story between Jonas and Fritjof, those two dudes. One of them is into guys, he knows it, but kind of keeps it hidden from the other one. They become friends. Jonas does kind of develop feelings for Fritjof, the straight dude. And once Fritjof finds out that Jonas is gay, he kind of, you know, is a little bit confused. On the one hand, he doesn't understand why his friend kept it so long from him. On the other hand, maybe he likes Jonas actually. And you know, you also have other characters. They all go to university, have to deal with just like, you know, very relatable everyday problems. It's just a very comforting story that is still ongoing. Remember Only One Bed Anthology? Mähnds is one of the artists, but the characters in the story are different. They're not from this story, not from Sturm ist erst. But the second artist is SeNaeke, who also has an ongoing series. This story is about Andre, whose family just gets kidnapped. And it's kind of this gang crime drama. He has to figure out how to get his family back, and while trying to find what happened, he meets Sasha and Enno, all these other characters. And while it is like all about kidnapping and crime, it's also just like about the interpersonal relationships between all of these characters. Andre does get a crush on this dude here, which I'm not sure, I'm really bad with names. I forget the plots pretty quickly. I forget the names even quicker. I apologize for not remembering the name. But yeah, those two are really cute together. And yeah, I can't wait to read the coming volumes. Ooh, next one is a big one. Another one of my favorites by Vinevi, Carrier of the Mask. She has been working on it for quite a while now, and this year she published volume 4 and also a light novel which delves into like a certain important character of the story. And this story is dark, it's grimy, it's violent. It takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where there are certain peoples who are reduced to numbers and they are basically slaves. They're not considered human. And one of them is our protagonist, who through an accident loses both of his arms. And well, the story is not just about revenge, it's also about finding the will to live in a very dark world. It's about family, not just, you know, your blood relatives, but also your found family. And with each volume, like, the story only gets better and better. But honestly, like, what made me fall in love with it even more is the light novel. And yes, I said that I'm not gonna talk about light novels and anything, but you cannot really separate the story. I haven't, like, once volume 5 is out, I guess we will know whether it's okay not to have read the light novel, but I think it's like a really important part of the story. And just the vibes of it is it's very sad, but also still hopeful. And I think this is like the most impressive thing about this series, is that while it's very dark, it's also like extremely hopeful. Finding this balance is not easy, and Vinny V created something very special there. And I think anyone who, I guess if you don't like blood and gore, this story might not be for you, but if it's okay with you, I can only recommend this series. Check it out. Another series that has been going on for a bit is Vom Anfang by Caroline Reich. It's also in full color, and I'm not even sure I'm up to the latest volume. I own 6 volumes, and I think it's not that far until it actually finishes anymore. So over half of the story is out. You can just see the improvement of the art style, but also of the storytelling. In each volume it gets better and better. It's about Cosima, who lives in the human world, and she lives close to the forest, and she heard lots of stories about the forest. Don't go into there, dark things live there. And then she gets dragged into the forest by this magician who claims that she's the chosen one and she's supposed to save the world. And throughout the stories you meet all of these different characters who are intertwined. The story is all about fate, it's about dark and light powers, and it looks like somebody has been planning something, and now it's all about whether their plan comes into fruition, I think is what I can sum up. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. Okay, Refresh by Kiura is a story about growing up, about relationships and love and life, and about how to keep on fighting and learning to love yourself and others through that. There are so many possible paths you can take, but you yourself have to choose and walk. It is pretty short, so not that much happens, but it's only volume 1 of I don't know how many, and I should check out whether more volumes have been out or not, because I haven't seen Kiura around for a bit, because I haven't been to conventions much. So next author, Akira Aizumito. He has been drawing manga for a bit, but then I think he paused and now continues working again. And one project that he has been working on for a while is The Box. This one is a short story. It's Greek mythology inspired. It is kind of a typical shonen story. You have a shonen protagonist, a cute young guy who is very motivated, very into Undine. I am actually not sure what the English word would be. And they are considered like bad beings in this world, and he wants to prove otherwise. He is carrying a box on his back, which is a little bit suspicious. And that's basically the story. And as far as I know, that Akira has been working, well, not really a spin-off, but like a different version of the story, which is darker. But I'm not really sure what, like how far he is, because yeah, he recently has been posting drawing process again, and he has been gone for a bit, which I'm not really sure what happened there, but it's good to see that he's back to drawing manga again. And his previous series was Zodiac, Abdicted, Zodiac Pet Evolution Abdicted. I think it was almost like an experiment where you have like different zodiac signs, you have like cards to go along with it, different characters who are like different zodiac signs, who have, all of them have special abilities. But I don't think he will be finishing the story anymore. So yeah, I cannot really tell you to go read it, because yeah, it most probably won't ever be finished. Incidents, I have volume 1 of Incidents, and I think volume 2 is also already out, maybe even volume 3, I'm not sure. It's a story by Meitei Miu. It's about 2 guys who have run this podcast the mysterious cabin of spirits, and they're kind of self-proclaimed detectives who try to uncover who's behind certain cases that went cold, and it's usually ghost related. So they become ghost hunters, something like that. Kind of a mystery series. Oh my gosh, I have just so many books. But we're getting close. We're getting closer to the end. Okay, Your Way. Volume 1. I also own Volume 2 but haven't read it yet. It's also on my TBR. This story is about Rie, who is a moon demon, but who for some reason doesn't have any powers. And then her boyfriend just kicks her out. So she's basically at her lowest when she gets summoned by Death God himself. What does he want from her? Turns out he is also not a typical Death God. With him something seems to be wrong as well. So these two have to figure out, like, okay, what happened? Why are they different? I really like the story. I really like the lore. I really love the characters and their interactions. I love the relationship between Rie and the Death God, whose name I forgot. So yeah, I can't wait to read Volume 2 eventually. This is another series I highly recommend. Catnet by Marvin Herbring is a fully colored, watercolored comic about a cat who sees, well, you know, basically cat memes, and decides he gotta save all these cats. And it's about shenanigans and the travels he goes on to. It is Volume 1. Yeah, it is Part 1. It's not finished. And I'm not sure whether it will be finished. I will check out the information on his social media profiles, whether he's planning to continue working on it or not. I'm just amazed by how much effort Marvin has put into this artwork. Everything looks just stunning. The backgrounds, oh my gosh, it probably took forever. So if he decides not to continue the story because it's a lot of effort, and as a self-publisher it's not always easy to reach big readership, I could understand why he maybe doesn't want to finish it, but we will see. As I said, I will look up whether he plans on finishing it or not. Gotcha is actually, I'm not sure this is self-published. Again, it says Peach Comics on here, but it might be their own publisher's name, which is separate from their... Yeah, I think it's like Lametta Peach Smart Gold Pie. Is it 2 people? It just, like, it has been a long while since I read it, so I don't remember anything, and I don't know how many volumes have been out by now. Yeah, it's 2018 is when Volume 1 has been out. Yeah, this story is about a series who is related to royal family, who is allegedly or apparently did murder, and because of their crimes, like, the whole family now has to basically become slaves, and she is supposed to serve the prince of her country, basically being his personal plaything, whatever, which she doesn't like. I mean, who would? Eventually she does manage to escape to a neighboring country which is supposed to be ruled by a demon king. Just after entering the border, she meets a vampire who seems to have his own plans with her. That's the premise from the back of the book, which we always love. I especially fell in love with the drawings. I think that was why I ordered the book in the first place. I actually, again, have no idea whether more volumes are out or not. I think I probably wasn't quite hooked by the story back then. It has been a while since I read it, and that is probably the reason why I don't even know whether there are more volumes out or not, even though it has been such a long while. So I will check it out again. For the next book, I probably should proclaim some trigger warning. It does involve depression, self-harm, even unaliving yourself. Kind of, maybe, we don't know. So it's about Sayaka. She's 16 years old, and her friend Sayo just recently died, the mysterious death. So in order to figure out what exactly happened, because Sayaka doesn't just trust everything that she's been told, she kind of pretends to be Sayo, her dead friend, to figure out, okay, what exactly happened while she lives with her dead friend's father, who is like a mafia boss. This story was completely different to what I expected. It was a lot darker than I thought. It does deal with trauma, grief, mental illness, and how you get past it in order to, you know, figure out, okay, what the fuck happened to your friend. It is a mystery, so we still don't, it's only volume 1, we still don't know who did what, and I actually have no idea. I have no clues what happened, so I can't wait to continue reading, but I know that the author has a life, just as basically most of these authors do. So the continuation will probably take still a little bit of time, and I'm not sure how many volumes are planned, but it all sounds quite interesting so far. I love a good mystery. Clockwork Case by Rifu is a pretty short first volume. I think I talked about it in one of my videos when I was just reading it. I really like the art style of this. Just the line work is exquisite. I love staring at the drawings. This is another mystery story where the same kind of murders keep happening, where there is like a watch that stopped working lying next to the victim, and then Colette, who is the protagonist, her friend, dies in the same way. She now wants to find out, okay, what is happening. So she gets kind of close to catching the dude, but then he escapes. Yeah, again, I also need to check whether more volumes have been out or not, so I will put in the info on the screen. I have volume 1 of Crow's Nest. It's kind of difficult to say what it's about because, first of all, without spoiling, but also it's not quite clear what exactly is happening in the story. It is a fantasy story about this boy who has a talking crow, who also gives him a power to fly, I think. He brews potions for the townsfolk, kind of medicinal kind. But then suddenly certain spirits start appearing. This boy, he kind of starts seeing things. It's not clear, is it really happening or not? Things kind of start getting messed up. And it probably has something to do with this goddess's power, who kind of split her powers into different animals, different elements. And also she created one being that is supposed to balance all of these powers. And my guess is that things are kind of getting out of balance. Who's responsible? We don't know. From volume 1, I can, as I said, it's kind of difficult to say what exactly is going on here. What's the role of this boy? And yeah, it's pretty, volume 1 ends on pretty open, but you can see that this is a story which where the author put in a lot of thoughts into the world building and the kind of different powers that the beings in here have. There is a goddess, an earth goddess for sure, that's what I know. I'm sorry, I cannot be more clear on what the story is about. I'm not selling it very well. Okay, next one is A Big Chunky Boy, Crushed by Nanaya. They have been publishing this story for a while. First there was like a black and white version on Animix. It had a different title, and then they just revamped the whole story, started publishing it in color on, I think, Webtoons, I'm not sure. And now they're also printing it. It is in English, it is a BL, but it's also a sports manga. It is about interpersonal relationships, and it's actually really fun to read. Like, the biggest selling point of the story are definitely the characters. You can just check it out. I think more volumes are out. I only own volume 1 so far, because you can't find them very often at conventions, and this is usually where I get my self-published books. So that's why I only own volume 1 so far. And the next one is Rabenfluch, volume 1 and 2 by Lian. It is another BL story. As you can see, the self-publishing space, there's just a lot of BL, LGBTQ plus stories and 18 plus stories, I guess. Rabenfluch is about this prince who is basically a spoiled brat. Because he is a spoiled brat, he gets tricked by a witch who puts a curse onto him. Luckily for him, this wizard kind of decides to help him because he has enough empathy, and it's kind of about their relationship, like why did the prince became the way that he is, how can he become more of a decent human being, and so on. And it's really pretty. 3 more. Now we're talking about finished series. I have 3 finished series, self-published series here. Okay. First one, Butterflies by Luisa Velantrova. I think first she got like 4 volumes, and now there is like 1 single volume where all of the 4 volumes are basically, you can read them all in one. I'm just gonna read the blurb. Ali suffers from a strange condition of déjà vu and memory loss. Her twin sister Hina, desperate to help, turns towards a boy from her school who is said to dabble with the supernatural. He claims, however, that there is nothing of that sort at work. Then what is it? He offers to help, but for what price? This is basically quite a dreamy story about dreams, déjà vu, and Luisa Velantrova's art style is just very light, slightly fluffy, just beautiful, very delicate as well. So and the stories, the vibes feel the same, just from the way that they are told. From SeNaeke, who is working the Bad Luck Boys at the moment, I have Headless, 3 volumes, a finished story. I think this is his first published work, and recently he revamped all of volume 1. So if you want to get into the story, it might be a good time actually, because like volume 1 got revamped. The drawings are, well, I mean, obviously the oldest book you draw will always be the worst thing. So it's kind of always nice if you get the chance to redraw some of the things, like tell the story maybe in a more effective way. This story is about Pascal, who summons a demon, and this demon somehow ends up being a headless boy, and then they just become roommates. And similar to Bad Luck Boys, it's more about like interpersonal relationship, not the plot per se. It's not the focus of his stories. So if you like character-driven stories, this might be interesting for you. Okay, and the last story is 30 plus. It's, wait, somehow I have volume 1 twice and I have volume 2, and somehow I thought there were supposed to be 3 volumes. I don't know, it has been a while since I bought it. It's by Izumi Matsubara, and I guess it's about relationships, grown-up relationships, you know, 30 plus relationships with different characters. I'm not even sure whether you can get these manga anywhere. I'm not sure whether Izumi Matsubara has an online presence. I got these books at the convention again, so I will try and find more information. Okay, I actually missed a couple of books because they were just lying somewhere else. So another continuing series that I have is Flourishing Flower. I only have volume 1, and it's also a BL story, or rather a slice of life story where this boy falls in love with a florist, or starts having a crush on the florist, and it's another slow burn story that concentrates on the interpersonal relationships. Dust by V. Mina is more of a fantasy story. The blurb doesn't say too much about what is happening, and neither does volume 1, but what we do know is that there is an illness befalling the people of this country, and people are suffering from this illness. Maybe they're even dying, we don't know yet, and there is a team of researchers trying to find a cure for this illness. But it proves to be pretty difficult until a curious spirit, and they might be
the change that they need. There are more volumes out by now. I only have read volume 1 so far, so I'm pretty sure that the next volumes will clear up a lot of the story and the world building and what is actually happening there. I really like the way that the dialogue is written, and I just love the dynamic that you can already grasp between people who believe in gods and the gods themselves. I think it's really interesting. Then we have Reborn by Yumio's Doodles, also volume 1. In this story we also have a disease, but this one is a genetic one, and it plagues the citizens of New Silverton City, and it turns ordinary human beings into fiery beasts known as blazes. Rena Price, a young girl suffering from early symptoms of this disease, hopes to turn her life around when the renowned origami tech company announces Metamorphosis, a program which promises a cure for people like her. However, it doesn't take long before she finds herself right in the middle of a huge underhanded intrigue led by the very people she entrusted her life with. So yeah, in this story we do follow Reina, who is like really a nerdy girl who just likes to play her games, who's quite high energy character and who is kind of looking forward to this whole process and who I'm sure will have to suffer in this story. So I'm really looking forward to the coming volumes. And before I finish off, I want to mention 2 more series that I haven't read at all yet. Those 2 books are on my TBR. First one is Western Kuro that I bought recently. Volume 1 has been out this year. Story is about West and Kuro, who is like a ghostly cat, I guess, and they travel to this town called Timberspell, and it's all about just everyday life filled with magic and just looking for a new home. Sounds like a quite cozy story, and I just really love the artwork. I have been a fan of C.K. Johnson for a while. I love their art and I can't wait to read this manga. And last but not least, we have Origin Volume 1. Origin is a world created by the gods, and in one of the countries in this world, the land Silva, the king has died, and because of that, conflicts are arising, and this commander of the King's Guard has to figure out how he can still protect the people of his country during all of these arising conflicts. No idea what to expect from the story, but I know that there are definitely 2 volumes out already, and it's not finished yet. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
This was a lot. I have no idea how long this video has turned out by now after I have edited it. I hope you were able to find some interesting works for you. There are definitely some hidden gems in here. Lots of self-published work, are shorter stories, just like small bites that you can read in between. I have been collecting all of these for years, tabling at conventions for the first, and that's when I started going to conventions more regularly. So I guess I started collecting 2018, around that time. I think it's always fun to see certain tendencies in the self-publishing space, what kind of stories people tend to mark, but also like more ambitious stories are always quite interesting for me to discover as well. You know, when you see a story and you think, oh okay, like a traditional publisher probably wouldn't publish this for these and these and these reasons, and I'm glad that the story exists in the self-publishing space, because otherwise it might not have had a chance to get published at all. So yeah, if you have the chance, please support some of the self-publishers, maybe some of your local self-publishers. Check out what is available. There is just so much variety and so many different art styles, lots of non-conventional art styles. So there is something for everybody out there. Thank you all so much for watching, and a very special thank you goes out to all of my Ko-fi supporters who make these YouTube videos possible. If you too want to become a Ko-fi supporter, you can find the link in the description box below. You don't have to support me monthly, you can also just make a one-time donation. You can also support me by simply liking this video, commenting on it, and subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, Bye!